One. Now let us go to the third property of the convolution, that is associative property. In the previous videos we have seen about the commutative and the distributive property of convolution. This is the third property we are dealing with. Again, this is a very common term which you might have heard in mathematics. In algebra, if three variables are there, a multiplied by b multiplied by c, if you exchange these brackets, your product remains the same. It will not alter. It will not do much change in the answer. So both are equal. Similarly, we can apply this property for convolution as well. So how it is defined for discrete and continuous time signal? The convolution associative property is given by, if there are three signals x, h1 and h2, then x convolved with h1, then this product, this answer is convolved with h2. This is equal to the first signal convolved with the convolution of second and third signal. So if you exchange the brackets, answer remains the same. So let us try to prove this property. First, let's start with the discrete time signal property. We have this as the property definition. For this, what I'll do, I'll take this first bracket as, say, some another signal or the function f1 of n, only this bracket. Similarly, this second bracket at the RHS, assume it as f2. For our ease, let's consider this as f1 and this as f2. Then we know that whenever we are giving the equation for convolution, we say y of n is given by summation k from minus to plus infinity x of k h of n minus k, right, where k is the variable. If you remember, even in the convolution integral, we take integration minus to plus infinity x of tau h of t minus tau d tau, where tau was the variable. So these k and tau are the variables. Depending on the number of functions, you can take any variable, k, m, r, n, tau, whatever it can be. Sorry, not n, because n is the time here. So you can take any other variable. You don't be restricted to using only k or tau. Now, moving to the property, we have assumed this first bracket as f1. So f1 is equal to x convolved with h1. Okay, according to the convolution formula, let us write this convolution summation x of, see here I have used the variable m instead of k. Okay, so first signal x, second signal h1, and this variable is m. It is n minus m. Earlier it was x of k, h1 of n minus k. Instead of k I have written m. This is about f1. Similarly, this bracket is assumed as f2. So similarly, write for f2 convolution equation. Here if you observe, I have used the term r, variable. So it is first signal r multiplied by second signal shift n minus r. The convolution formula is h1 of k, h2 of n minus k. Instead of k I have used r as the variable. So this is about the bracket considerations. Now let us consider the LHS for the proof. What is LHS? X convolved with h1, this is in one bracket, convolved with h2, this is our LHS. Now what is x convolved with h1? Just now we have considered it as f1. So f1 convolved with h2. Now again, this is one convolution. Let us try to write the convolution sum formula for this, where first signal is f1, second signal is h2. Here see, I have used the variable k. In the first I have used m, in the second I have used r. In LHS, in proof, I have used k as the variable. It will become first signal k, second signal shift n minus k, according to the convolution sum formula. Now after this, just see here, we know that what is f1 of n is equal to, just now we have written the convolution sum formula. Then according to this, can we get f1 of k? What is the difference between these two, f1 of n and f1 of k? Only the variable. Here it is n, here it is k. So what we will do, in this given f1 of n, what we have got f1 of n, replace n by k. So summation as it is, instead of f1 of k, f1 of n value is this, we will just change n by k. Summation of m, x of m as it is, because we are not changing m, we are only changing n by k. So h1 of, instead of n, we need to change it by k. So it is k minus m as it is. So this, whatever we have written, this is f1 of k. How we got f1 of k? From f1 of n, and this as it is kept. Now simple rearrangements. What I'll do, I will club all m variable sides at one place. Summation x of n at one place, remaining all terms at the other place. Summation h1 h2. This is just simple rearrangement. Okay. After this, what I'll do, putting this k minus m as some variable r. Why we need to do this? Because if you observe the formula for convolution, it has always the first signal is single and second signal has got the shifts. So just to make this a single, so what we can do, let us make this as a single one signal without any shifts, and second signal can have some shifts, so that this looks like a convolution. For that, substitute k minus m as some variable r. So what will be k is equal to? K is equal to r plus m. Fine. With this, let's move summation as it is, x of m as it is, summation, instead of k, we should do it as m plus r, minus to plus infinity, h1 of, what is k minus m? It is equal to r. Then what is h2 of n minus k? h2 of n minus, what is k? K is m plus r. If you apply negative sign to both, it will become minus m minus r. Okay. Then next step, this is as it is. Here I have taken r as the variable because first signal has got r. See here, just like our convolution formula, k and k variable. So what I'll do, I'll take r. Okay, r as the variable and putting m to that side. Infinity, if you add anything or subtract anything in the infinity, it remains infinity only. So m will go. So only r will remain. Then h2 of n minus m minus r. Now this is the same I have written. R is equal to the same step is repeated here. Now this much is as it is. Let us now try to see what this can be. Okay. For that, let's go back to the second f2 of n function which we have considered, h1 convolved with h2, for which we have even written the convolution sum formula. Okay. If you observe, the bracket has got n minus m. R is, the shift is here, minus r. So only this term is getting more. So what I'll do, I will just try to see what is f2 of n minus m. Now why we have taken n minus m only? Because this h2 has got n minus m term. R is the shift which is needed in the convolution sum formula. That's why for n minus m, I'll just see from this what is f2 of n minus m. How to get f2 of n minus m? We have f2 of n already. Simply replace n by n minus m. That's it. So what will be your equation? Summation r, this is as it is, h1 of r as it is, h2 of, instead of n, replace it by n minus m, and this r as it is. So we have got this f2 of n minus m. Just observe and compare this with this, what you can see? Summation r h1 h2 of n minus r n minus m minus r, both are same. So what we can conclude? Both are as it is. This bracket is nothing but your function f2 of n minus m. So that's what we have replaced this with f2 of n minus m. Just you need to remember why we have to take n minus m only, because this equation has this term n minus m. So let us try with f2 of n minus m. From f2 of n we got f2 of n minus m, replacing n by n minus m. So we got this. Then observe, this is one more convolution sum equation formula. Summation with m as the variable. First signal, second signal, shift. You can just see x of k, h of n minus k, right? Whatever variable is here, it is getting shifted here. N remains the same. So what are the two different signals we have? First signal is x, second signal is f2. So this is nothing but a convolution sum formula for two signals x and f2. That is x of n convolved with f2 of n. So if this is it, substitute. What is f2 we have considered? At the start we have considered f2 as h1 convolved with h2. So simply substitute that here. Instead of f2, substitute h1 convolved with h2, which is nothing but our RHS. If you see here, it is nothing but our RHS. So we started with LHS, we did some modifications, substitutions, rearrangements, and we arrived at RHS. So this is the proof of associative property for the discrete time convolution.